The story starts with a forest ranger named Jack, out on his usual patrol in the forest. He had no idea that this day would become one he could never forget. Without warning, something struck him, an arrow flying from somewhere unseen. It missed anything vital, and he managed to stay on his feet. Jack was shocked. Who in today's world would attack someone with an arrow? And if they did, why? Determined to find answers, he removed his jacket so he could run faster, gripping his gun as he moved deeper into the trees. But the forest stayed silent. He saw no movement, no shadow. Maybe the attacker had already run away. Maybe it was just a hunter who had made a terrible mistake. These thoughts ran through his mind until another arrow suddenly came. This one hit harder. It struck just above his chest, forcing him to the ground. Pain shot through his body as he grabbed at the arrow, trying to pull it free. It snapped halfway, leaving the tip buried inside him. Jack knew he had to get out of there immediately, or the wound could become deadly. Staggering to his feet, he ran toward the forest's edge, finally reaching the spot where his car was parked. But when he tried to start it, nothing happened. This morning he had filled the fuel tank himself, so why was it empty now? Had his attacker tampered with it? There was no time to think. Blood was still flowing fast and every second mattered. He decided to move on foot. While making his way out, he noticed something, a car hidden in the bushes. It could belong to the person who tried to kill him. He quickly memorized its details before forcing himself toward home. Once inside, he fought through the pain and pulled the arrow out completely. The moment he looked at it, his confusion deepened. This was no modern arrow. It was old, very old, the kind no one makes anymore. You might think Jack has always been gentle with animals, but that's not true. Once, he was a well-known hunter in the whole town. His name passed around in stories and gossip. The only person who hated his work was his daughter, Alina. She would beg him to stop killing animals, and one day, because of her, he did. But tragedy struck. One afternoon, Jack was driving with Alina. He stopped the car to pick up a few things. When he came back, she was gone. No sound, no sign, just an empty seat. It's been 5 years since that day. Jack still puts up missing posters, still hoping. The pain broke him. To numb it, he turned to alcohol. The drinking became worse and worse until his wife couldn't take it anymore. She left. Now Jack lives alone. He became a forest ranger, not for himself, but for Alina, to protect the animals she loved. He even installed cameras across more than half the forest so he could watch everything from home. Meanwhile, in another part of town, the new sheriff, Elizabeth, walks into Police Chief Carl's office. She's there to get her brother, Crumb, released. He's been caught at an abandoned factory, involved in illegal work. Because she's sheriff, Carl lets him go with only a warning. On the drive back, Elizabeth turns to her brother. Her voice is sharp. "Did you kill anyone?" she asks. Crumb shakes his head. "No," he says quietly. "They killed someone. The men at the factory. They found out who my sister was." Elizabeth warns him not to leave town. He doesn't reply. Before she can push him, her phone rings. A call from dispatch. A dead body has been found on the riverbank. She turns the car around and heads straight there. Back at Jack's house, an unexpected knock comes. It's his ex-wife. She wants him to sign papers for their daughter's last rites. She's pregnant again and says she doesn't want her future child growing up with shadows from the past. Jack refuses. He's certain Alina is still alive. His ex-wife sees the half-empty bottle in his hand and shakes her head. "The funeral's in 2 weeks, she says coldly. "Come if you can." The scene shifts to the riverbank. Police officers stand in a circle, their eyes fixed on the girl's lifeless body. They examine every detail, searching for anything that might explain how she was killed, but nothing obvious shows. Then Elizabeth notices faint bruises around the girl's neck. They aren't fresh, they're from days ago. It's possible someone had tried to strangle her earlier, and maybe this was revenge carried out later. The officers spread out, combing the surrounding area. A short distance away, they find small drops of dried blood. It suggests the girl had been badly injured for some time, struggling to survive, but eventually failing. Nearby, on a stripped patch of bark, Elizabeth spots something lodged in the trunk. Half of a broken arrow. She carefully removes it and sends it for forensic testing. Back at the station, she studies it closely. There's a distinct mark carved into the middle of the shaft. It's identical to the arrow that struck Jack in the chest. The connection is impossible to ignore. News spreads quickly, the girl's picture flashing on every local channel. When Jack sees it, his heart pounds. For a moment, he wonders if it could be Alina. He rushes to the sheriff's office, demanding to see the body. When the sheet is pulled back, his face falls. It's not her. Still, it proves one thing. He hasn't let go. Somewhere deep inside, he believes his daughter is still alive. After Jack leaves, Elizabeth quietly asks the coroner about him. The doctor tells her everything. Alina's disappearance, Jack's drinking, the divorce, his solitary life in the forest. Hearing this, Elizabeth feels a rare ache in her chest. The next morning, after a long night of staring at the signed papers on his table, Jack finally picks up the pen. He signs. It means his daughter's funeral will take place. But before the weight of that decision can settle, a loud warning alarm goes off. Jack turns to his monitor. One of his forest cameras has detected movement. A figure is running, not after an animal, but after a girl. Jack grabs his gun and a paint box. Why paint? That will soon become clear. He races to the exact spot where he was attacked before, and it happens again. An arrow flies. This time he's ready. He throws the paint high into the air and fires at it. The explosion rains red paint across the clearing and onto a figure that had been almost invisible before, the hunter. Now clearly marked in red, the figure bolts into the trees. Even so, Jack can't catch him. Frustration boils inside. He had been so close. Then in the undergrowth, he finds her, the girl. She's injured, struggling to stay conscious, and on her neck, the same marks as the dead girl on the riverbank. Without hesitation, Jack lifts her into his arms and carries her toward a place only he knows, a place no one else can find. Elizabeth takes the arrow to a man known for his deep knowledge of rare and ancient weapons. He examines it carefully, running his fingers over the carved mark. This, he says slowly, is an atlas arrow. It was once used in ancient wars, designed to kill quickly and silently. They were banned long ago, illegal now. But, he pauses, there's still one man who makes them. Everyone calls him Sam. The name hits Elizabeth like a jolt. She remembers her brother Crumb. The factory where he was caught, it was controlled by Sam. He's the one who uses young men to do his dirty work, trafficking weapons, running dangerous hunts. Elizabeth wastes no time. She drives straight to the abandoned factory, moving through its rusted gates and shadowed hallways. But Sam isn't there. In a dim corner, a young woman named Patty steps forward cautiously. She whispers an address. Try here. That's where he's been staying. Elizabeth heads there, but the place is empty. Still, it's not a wasted trip. She finds a table covered in tools, arrowheads, and the rare materials needed to craft an atlas arrow. She snaps photos, collecting what she can. Then footsteps. A friend from the force bursts through the door. Another girl's gone missing, he says. Elizabeth's stomach drops when she hears who it is. The same girl Jack is with right now. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Jack is exhausted from carrying her. He stops, setting her down gently. She flinches, backing away as if expecting him to attack. To her, he might just be another hunter. Jack keeps his voice calm. You're safe with me. I won't hurt you. She doesn't believe him, not yet, but slowly, step by step, he earns a flicker of trust. He leads her to a hidden bunker, one he built years ago, designed to trap hunters. Now it's their shelter. Inside, Jack tries to learn more. What's your name? How did you get here? Silence. Her eyes tell him she wants to answer, but can't. And then he understands. Her throat bears deep scars. The hunter had cut her vocal cords. She will never scream again. A cruel trick, so she couldn't call for help, making her the perfect prey. The first girl's story had been just as tragic. She had wandered the forest for hours, bleeding, desperate, clinging to life. But in the end, she hadn't made it. Jack was determined Molly wouldn't share that fate. In the bunker, he used hand gestures to reassure her. She was safe here. No one would hurt her. Slowly, her panic eased. She knelt, grabbed a stick, and scratched letters into the dirt. M-O-L-L-Y. By morning, Jack decided they couldn't stay hidden forever. He led her out of the bunker, beginning the long walk home. Meanwhile, Elizabeth got a new lead, one she didn't like. Molly had last been seen with a small group of people, but Jack's name was in the whispers too. Elizabeth remembered how he once seized weapons from hunters and kept them. She couldn't shake the thought, what if Jack had snapped after his daughter's death? What if he was dangerous now? Jack finally reached home, drained and sore, but something felt wrong. He could sense it. Someone else was inside. His suspicion proved right. The hunter stepped out of the shadows, the same one who had shot him before. Without warning, they clashed. Jack fought back hard, but he was already wounded and exhausted. The hunter overpowered him. In one swift, merciless move, the hunter drove an arrow into Molly's stomach. Jack watched her collapse, his heart breaking. He had promised himself she'd live. Before he could even process it, the front door burst open. Elizabeth stormed in, her eyes locking on Molly's lifeless body. Then Jack stepped out from the side, gun in hand. To her, the picture was clear. Jack had killed her, but the truth revealed itself in a single chilling moment. The hunter appeared behind Jack, and upon seeing Elizabeth, snapped his fingers. It was a silent signal, one only she would recognize. Her blood ran cold. This was no stranger. This was her younger brother, Crumb, the same brother she had saved again and again. And just like every other time, she made her choice. She raised her gun and shot Jack. The shot gave Crumb his escape. He fled into the forest. Elizabeth pursued, but he led her straight into one of Jack's traps, a hidden snare. She fell hard, injured. Jack, bleeding on the floor, finally understood. Elizabeth had done this to protect her brother, but Molly wasn't gone yet. Jack grabbed Elizabeth's radio and called for an ambulance. Then he carried himself, driving straight to his ex-wife's house. Her husband Carl froze in shock at the sight of them. Taking Jack to a hospital was impossible. Too many questions, too much risk. Instead, Carl called in a doctor to a trailer parked outside the abandoned factory. It became their makeshift clinic. As the doctor worked to save him, he told them everything, every detail, every name, and most importantly, exactly who was behind it all. When Carl stepped out of the trailer, he spotted Crumb leaning against a wall with his friends, passing around drugs like it was nothing. It was the perfect chance, maybe the only one he'd get. Carl charged forward, but Crumb was quick. He bolted into the trailer and grabbed the doctor, pressing a knife against his throat. The threat was clear. Doctor's body was battered, but his fight wasn't gone. With one swift move, Jack caught Crumb's wrist, twisted hard, and freed the doctor. Carl moved in fast, pinning Crumb and slapping the cuffs on him. News of the arrest reached Elizabeth while she was still recovering from her injuries. She went straight to see her brother, hoping she could talk her way into freeing him like before. But Carl wasn't budging this time. He told her flatly, "Your brother's already confessed to something. You try to save him now, and you might lose your badge for good." Elizabeth's confidence cracked, and then Crumb dropped something unexpected. He offered to take them to a place where he was keeping someone prisoner. When they arrived, the truth hit hard. Locked inside was Sam, the owner of the factory, the man who had abused Crumb for years. Crumb had captured him to settle the score, which meant Crumb wasn't the hunter after all. Elizabeth felt the sting of realization. She'd been wrong. They pulled Sam out and demanded answers. "Is this your arrow? Did you make it?" Carl asked, holding up the atlas. Sam shook his head. "I never leave marks on my arrows. That's someone else's work." The air turned heavier. If Sam wasn't the one, then the real hunter was still out there, watching, waiting. Carl made a decision. He changed his statement, clearing Crumb of the attacks, and in doing so, saved Elizabeth's career. Molly was recovering. Crumb was no longer a suspect. And Jack decided it was time to live again. He realized he'd been wasting the only life he had, drowning in alcohol, chasing ghosts. From now on, he would stay sober, stay present. He'd protect the living instead of mourning the lost. But as the days passed, one question refused to fade. Who was the real hunter? And more importantly, would anyone ever catch him? Jack was at the grocery store, casually picking up supplies, when something caught his eye. Parked across the lot was a truck. Not just any truck, the same one he had marked weeks ago after the first attack. A spark of hope flared in his chest. He walked toward it, his steps quickening. But when he reached the back, the mark was gone. Clean, fresh paint. His heart sank. Maybe it wasn't the same one after all. He turned back toward his own car, ready to write it off, when another truck rumbled past on the street. And there it was, the mark. Faded but still there. This time there was no doubt. Jack stepped into the road, ready to pull the driver out. The door opened, and instead of a young man or a hunter, an old man climbed down. Jack's mind raced. He asked quickly, "You got a son?" The old man shook his head. "No, I live alone. This truck's mine." Thinking fast, Jack forced a smile. "Right. Sorry, I thought you were someone else. Once a guy in this truck helped me out. I wanted to thank him." The old man nodded. "Sometimes my neighbor borrows it." That was all Jack needed. He drove straight to the neighbor's house. No one answered the door, so he broke the lock. Inside, the place felt wrong. Trophies from hunts lined the walls. Some animal, some not. But it was what he found in the basement that froze him in place. Posters. Dozens of missing girl posters plastered across the concrete walls. And in the far corner, one he recognized instantly. Alina, his daughter. His chest tightened, but he pushed deeper into the basement. There he found a small surgical room. On the table lay a woman, her throat freshly cut open, her vocal cords removed. The air turned cold inside him. This was it, the lair of the hunter. But before he could move, a shadow lunged from behind. Pain exploded at the back of his skull as he fell. When his vision cleared, he saw the face of his attacker, and recognition slammed into him. It wasn't Sam, it wasn't Brooks, it was the doctor. The same doctor Carl had called to the trailer to treat Jack's wounds. Yes, this was the hunter. The scene shifts to Elizabeth visiting Molly, who is still recovering under the care of Dr. Boom. But the doctor isn't there at the moment. While waiting, Elizabeth notices a framed photo on the table, the doctor with a young girl. The nurse, noticing her curiosity, explains, "His daughter, Melissa Boom. Years ago, she was crushed to death by a drunk driver." Elizabeth freezes. Melissa Boom, MB. The same initials branded onto every arrow they had recovered since the beginning. It all clicks. She rushes straight to the doctor's house, but he isn't there. Still, the items scattered around confirm everything. The weapons, the hunting gear, the trophies. There's no doubt now. She races to Jack's house to tell him his daughter's killer has finally been found. But Jack isn't there either. Instead, his surveillance monitors flicker, showing live footage of the forest. Elizabeth watches as the doctor stalks Jack through the trees. For a moment, it seems Jack could be the prey, but no one knows the forest like he does. Hidden traps are everywhere, and soon the doctor falls into one. Before he can recover, Jack is on him, fists pounding, rage spilling out in every blow. He disfigures the man, then pauses just long enough to demand an answer. "Why did you kill my daughter?" The doctor's reply is chilling, senseless. "My father was an alcoholic. I hated drinkers. A drunk driver killed my daughter, so I take revenge on all of them." It's twisted logic, impossible to reason with. Jack's anger hardens. Without hesitation, he finishes him, ending the life of the man who had destroyed so many others. Elizabeth arrives just as it's over. "Hand him over to the police," she says, breathless, but Jack knows better. The police won't do anything. People like him, they only understand one punishment, and with that, he drags the body to the edge of a deep ditch and throws it in. Elizabeth says nothing. Maybe deep down she agrees. In the days that follow, Jack takes down every missing poster of his daughter from around town. The funeral is over. He's ready to let her rest. Elizabeth oversees the demolition of the old factory, making sure no more young lives, like her brother's, will be wasted there. And with that, the story closes. How did you like it? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.